Hello everyone, this is Sam and this is Collision. Welcome back to another video. For today's video we have a comparison between two vehicles that you requested. On the last video that I did between the Kia Telluride and the Cadillac XT6, a lot of people reached out to me and they said they wanted to see a comparison between one of the vehicles that we have on my left side and of course the Kia Telluride. So let's begin with the comparison. So on the left side we have the basic Kia, which is the EX, the Kia Telluride, and on the right side we have the Chevy Traverse, which is the True North one LT. Now, a comparison between these two specifically is not very fair because the one that you see on the left is basically the basic one that you get from. So what we have on the left side is the basic Kia Telluride, and what we have on the right side is the Chevy Traverse LT. Now, for today's video, unfortunately, we don't have the SX Kia Telluride. We have the Telluride Basic, which is the EX. The best comparison between these two would be the Kia Telluride SX versus this one, since they're both in the same price range. Unfortunately, we don't have the SX, and the reason is because they didn't have at the actual dealership that we are partnered with. And the reason is because they're selling them a lot. One of the sales guys that I actually work with told me that they have too many requests for the Kia Telluride, specifically the SX one, that they cannot keep up with the actual orders. They got so many people interested to purchase one of this, and that's why they don't have the actual SX. Although I did review one of their models, which the link will be in the description box, and that's the higher trim if you want to watch the video, but I'll give you a tour of the SX as well. We're sort of going to pretend that that's the SX. There's not that many there's not a lot of options on the SX compared to this, and the different price is about $4,000 or so. So you're looking at $45,000 for the SX, $49,000. But I will include some of the actual features that you get on the SX, which is technically the fair comparison with the one that we have for today for the Chevy Traverse, the True North LT all-wheel drive. This is the V6 version. So here's what we're going to do for today's video. We're going to talk about the difference between that and that. This one that we have for today's video is technically the demo that they have, because the one that was the SX that I was supposed to take, the one that I was supposed to take for today's video is actually sold yesterday. I mean, they cannot keep up with the demand they have for the Kia Telluride. It's technically one of the best-selling three-row seater right now in Canada. It's I think it's about the second one. Although the Kia Telluride, it shares a lot with the Hyundai Palisade, and I've reviewed the Palisade as well, and the link will be in the description box. And also special thanks goes to our three partners that have helped me get this two together. First is Kia Mississauga, who was kind enough to allow me to test drive the Telluride at the beginning, and of course for the second time we're back to do a comparison between the two of them, and they were very kind to actually give me one of this for today's video. Once I'm done, there is a customer that wants to take a look at this. That just gives you an idea of the high demand they have for this model specifically. And of course, for the Chevy, special thanks goes to Applewood GM, a dealership located in Ontario, Canada, about 45 minutes drive from Toronto or so, depends with traffic. These two dealerships are actually across from each other. They're part of the same family called the Rearview Group, and they have more dealerships. Also, special thanks goes to Conquest Canada. Conquest Canada is a website to help you find the right car with the right price. If you are into market for a new vehicle or used vehicle, whichever car you are interested in purchasing, they'll be more than happy to help you. What happens is that you go to their website. The way the system works is that you go into the website, find the right vehicle, find the right price, find the right features, and they will reach out to the sales people. They are part of the websites. They work with the dealership across Ontario to find the right car for the right price. And for the website, the link will be in the description box, so you can go in and check it out. Now, let's begin with the ones that we have for today's video. So first of all, what do we have in here? On the left side, we have the Telluride. This is the basic one, the EX, and on the right side, we have the True North Chevy Traverse LT all-wheel drive. let's begin with the prices. On the left, for the basic one, you're looking at 45,000. The basic one on this side, you're looking at about 37,000. For this model, it's at 49,000, and then of course that's before all the extras. Before we begin with exploring this too, let's talk about the key fobs. So here I have both key fobs for each car. That's for the Kia, and this is for the Chevy. For this Telluride, you don't get any remote control. You do get on the actual Chevy. For the SX, you do get a remote control. For the basic one, for the Telluride, you don't get any remote controls. You do get, of course, the release trunk for the Traverse, and of course, you get the same one for the Kia Telluride. You hold and it will release. As far as lock-in features, for the Telluride, you have the option to fold the mirrors. For this one, you don't have the option to fold the mirrors inside or out. So let me show you exactly. I'm going to lock it. This is the key fob, and let's press lock. And one more time. As you can see, they don't actually fold. On the Telluride on the other side, even with the basic one, you still get the option. So I'm gonna lock it for you. And that's at one. As you can see, they fold in. So pretty interesting feature on that side that you don't get on the Chevy. Now, as far as looks on the front, I'm kind of in dispute between the two of them. I'm looking at the Telluride, looks very nice, but even the Traverse one looks really nice too. Very aggressive look with that beautiful grille at the front. The Kia Telluride gives you an impression, it looks like a Range Rover. I've had that comment before on the previous videos that we reviewed. Meanwhile, the Chevy looks very different, very unique to its own style. So I don't know which one I would like the most. I understand the Telluride does look a bit better, more refined front. When it comes to the Traverse, it's very unique, it's different to the actual Telluride, a different style, very Chevy style pretty much. Now, as far as size, both vehicles look similar, although the Chevy Traverse looks a bit bigger and of course longer as well. And as far as the cabin space as well, the Chevy Traverse feels a bit bigger than the Kia Telluride. The actual specs will be here. I'm going to add them as well to give you a better idea which one is better or which one is smaller or which one is bigger as well. But as far as looks and size from outside, the Telluride, it is more boxy, and the Chevy, it's between boxy and round at the same time. As you can see, the front end, it's a bit round. Meanwhile, the Telluride is very much box in the front and back side as well. Now, let's move on to the side of the Chevy over here. So what we have, the name Traverse on the side of the door. Not sure why they would use it in there. It makes it look a bit weird, off. It shouldn't be on that side. But on the side of the vehicle, let's move on to the actual wheels. So what we have in here are basic 20-inch wheels that you don't get on the Telluride with that option, but you do get with the SX. So the Telluride right now has 18-inch. This has the 20-inch wheels. To the side of the Kia Telluride. First of all, keyless entry for both vehicles you have for this model. The Kia Telluride does not have the keyless entry for the rear doors. It does, the Chevy Traverse does have for all four doors, so you have a button where you can press and unlock and lock the actual vehicle, which you don't get on this specific model. So as you can see, for the Traverse, you have at the front door, and of course you have on the rear door as well. Now, as far as the size of the vehicle for Traverse on the side, as you can see, it looks a bit longer than the Kia Telluride, specifically the rear side where we have the three-row seater, where we have the third row seater. You can see the actual glass being more extended, which gives you an impression that it is actually longer than the Kia Telluride, as you can see on that side. So let me put them against each other to give you a better idea. So on the left we have the Traverse, and on the right side we have the Kia Telluride. Now let's move on onto the rear side and to give you another comparison between the two of these two vehicles. So first off, what we have in here, the Kia Telluride is an all-wheel drive system, and the Chevy Traverse is an all-wheel drive system. Kia Telluride comes in only one engine, which is the 3.8 liter V6 with the all-wheel drive system. Meanwhile, the Traverse does give you a second option, which is a front-wheel drive, and of course is a 4-cylinder. The one that we have for today is an all-wheel drive V6 3.6 liter. That makes 290 horsepower, and this one over here makes 310 horsepower. When it comes to towing, both vehicles have same towing capacity. We're looking at 5,000 on one side and 5,000 on the other side. So they're technically both within the same range. As far as the rear side, the actual Chevy Traverse does look a little bit better compared to that. I'm not a big fan of those tail lights on the Kia Telluride, and of course on the Chevy Traverse you get a single exhaust on each side to give it a more aggressive look, and then the Kia Telluride you don't. You just get one single exhaust on that side, and for this model. But for the Kia Telluride SX, you do get a twin single exhaust on one side of the vehicle. Meanwhile, on this one, you get for the V6, you get the two exhaust single on each side. As far as cameras, this vehicle is equipped with the 360 mode. That's not equipped with the 360 mode. But the actual SX, which is sort of like the comparison, as I previously mentioned, with the Traverse, does have the 360, and of course you get the cameras on the side of the mirrors, and of course on the rear side and the front. This one has only a backup camera for this specific model. Meanwhile, this, you got the 360 and of course a backup camera with two cameras, one that is used for the mirror and of course one that is used for the camera on the actual infotainment system. Now onto the rear side of the Chevy Traverse. In order for you to actually release the trunk, you have two options. First option is through the remote control, and the second option is by pressing the actual button underneath over there and then pop up the trunk. But when it comes to the feature that the Kia Telluride has, which is basically standing behind the vehicle, this doesn't. This one does not have the same smart tailgate that the Kia Telluride has. This has only two options. You can release the trunk. That has three. Through, of course, the button located onto the actual tailgate, and second will be through the actual remote control, and of course with the smart tailgate as well, which is basically standing behind the vehicle and then waiting for a couple of seconds, and it will give you a notification that it's about to open, and then you just step back and of course release the tailgate. Now let's move on onto the actual space over here. So first off, it looks like we got more space than you find on the actual Kia Telluride. As you can see, the specification should be somewhere here or so, to give you an idea exactly the size difference between that and the Chevy Traverse. And of course you get this mats over here located onto the actual seat, on the third row seat, to protect from any scratches or maybe anything dirty that you might be putting over here. You also get a plug onto the right side at 12 volts, and of course you get the net hook. You get the net hooks as well on each side if you wanted to put a net across this side over here, and of course you get the mat protection as well with the Chevy logo in there. And underneath that we get more space, so if I pull it, of course you can remove that bucket over there. You can see the screws onto that side if you wanted to remove it and clean it up. You can also fold the third row seats as well, and to do that it's exactly the same as the Kia Telluride. You just got to pull this over here to push them down, and you got more space for you to use. You technically have enough space here to fit a 50-inch TV across both seats. It's pretty big, on of course without the seats and with the seats as well. That's pretty much it onto the side. So next, let's move on onto the actual Kia Telluride. Here you go. The beautiful thing with this is that it kind of notifies you when it's going to open the tailgate, so you can have an idea and then you can step back. So as you can see over here, the Kia Telluride doesn't feel like it has a lot more space than the Chevy Traverse. But it's the same idea for this side over here too, to fold the seats, and of course you got space underneath there. Let me show you exactly. I'll open that. As you can see, you got more space in here to put stuff. Also have a feature with this trim, you can fold the second row seats but not the third one. That's something that you're missing on the Chevy Traverse for the automatic folding for the second row seats. Now the model that we have for today has actually 8 seats, as you can see, 3 here, 3 in the second row, and of course the 2 at the front. The Chevy Traverse on this model has only 7 seats, but you can add an 8th seat if you'd like to. It does have the option. Same thing with here, you can remove it or add it as well. Now let's close this side over here and press this button at the top. Next will be the engine. So let me pop the engine for both sides and let me show you exactly what we have in there. Okay, so here's what we have, a V6 VVT. This produces 310 horsepower and the Kia Telluride produces 291 brake horsepower. This one here has the same towing capacity as the Kia Telluride, nothing different, but you do get, compared to the Kia Telluride, a second engine, which is the front wheel drive 2-liter engine that is optional for this vehicle that you don't get on the Kia Telluride. Now let's close this part over here and let's pop the trunk for the Kia Telluride. Okay, so here's what we have. Again, this is a 3.8 liter V6 Traverse engine for the Kia Telluride, producing 290 horsepower. And on this vehicle, you get dampers, the same thing as you get on the Traverse, so you don't actually have to put anything to hold the actual hood. It's automatic. You got a damper on each side, similar to the actual Chevy Traverse. So here, with this vehicle, you don't get a second option. This is it. This is for all the trim levels. You get the 3.8 liter engine with the 8-speed automatic transmission. And of course, with the different trim level, you get the pedal shifters as well. Now, let's close this. Now, as far as performance, both vehicles have single piston brakes on front, and of course the same thing on the rear side, as you can see for the Chevy, single piston, and the same idea for the actual for the Telluride. So nothing fancy here, nothing different. For all the trim levels, you get the same type of braking system, one single piston, nothing performance on that. Although the only difference you have in here is basically the wheels, where the Traverse has the bigger size compared to this model that we have for today, the basic Telluride, which is the EX, the all-wheel drive one. Now, let's move on onto the interior. First off, let's start on the rear sides for the Chevy Traverse to show you exactly what we have in here. And of course, you have the keyless entry for the rear side on the Chevy Traverse, which you don't have on the Kia Telluride for this model that we have today. In order to fold the seat here, you press this lever in there and then you just pull it out, and then we'll just move forward as well and you fold the actual seat. So let me show you exactly. There you go. So now you have easy access to get in, and there's so much space in there to get in that it's not hard at all for myself to get inside the vehicle, as you can see, because the seat is folded quite a lot onto the front, so it's very easy to get onto the rear side. You have a USB charge located onto this side over here, and you get 2 cup holders for the third row seat as well. You have the same thing on the other side as well. As you can see, you have a USB charge, and of course you have 2 cup holders in there. You can do the same thing for the seat over there. You also get air vents located at the top for the third row seat, and you get, with this model, you get the actual moonroof. You get the double sunroof, the front and the rear side. And this one, you have the sunshade as well, which you can manually adjust and close. And then of course we have 2 lights located at the top for the third row seat, and of course you get for the second row seat as well of vents, and of course light onto each side, left and right. So you can see quite a lot of space in here inside on both sides. Unfortunately I have my equipment there, I apologize, and I'm roasting in here. It's pretty hot. So At the front here for the second row, we have the same thing, basically 2 seats in here, and you can get a third one in the middle. You got an armrest for both these 2 seats, and of course under here you have the actual 2 USB. You have 2 USB ports in there, and of course the climate control that you can change the temperature and the fan for the rear side as well. And as I said, the vents are located at the top. Now, a lot of space on this side as well, very comfortable. I can fit in right inside without any problem. It's very easy to get into this vehicle. It feels like very spacious. Let's get in on the rear side of the Kia Telluride. As you can see, the refined interior of the Kia Telluride, it's noticeable right away once you get in. Once you open the door, actually you can see the door panel as well. Very good quality interior. Looks very different from the Chevy Traverse. Not that that looks cheap, but it just looks different. It looks a bit more refined. Now, to fold the seats in here, we have 3 at the front, 3 at the back, the second row and the third row. You can just press this button over here and you just push it forwards. Now, here is the difference between this and that. This one is very tight to get inside. Even when you had 2 seats in the front, it was still tight. So I kind of have to like squeeze in to get inside the vehicle. There's not much space compared to the actual Traverse. Like, you can only fit 1 leg in there. It was very tight for me to actually get in. But other than that, it's pretty nice in here as well. You get a USB port, same thing with the Chevy Traverse, and of course you got 2 cup holders on this side that you can use. And of course you have at the top you have the air vents for the rear side, and you have the lights over there, and of course another vent on that side. And you got the climate control. Unlike the Chevy Traverse, the climate control on the Kia Telluride is located at the top on the roof side for the second row, and of course the vents located on the right side. So that's pretty much it for the rear side. Let me close this. Okay, so the seat in front of me, it's actually pushed a little bit further, and I got a lot of space in here, but you can actually do that and just move it further at the back. Let's get inside the Chevy Traverse and let me show you the interior for this vehicle. First off, on the left side we got the window switches, and of course you don't get any memory seats for this vehicle. You do get power seats for the front passenger and of course for the driver as well. And of course you get for the tailgate as well, and you get the actual control for the tailgate. And then on the right side, on the left side of the steering column, you got all the switches, of course, for your lights, your headlights, the fog lights as well. Now let's start it up. As far as the steering column itself, you don't get any power steering column. It's just basically manual. You can adjust it onto the side of the vehicle, which is very similar to the actual Kia Telluride, which is the same thing. You don't have any automatic for that specific model. You also get a voice control for this vehicle, and on the steering wheel we get on the left side you got the cruise control, and of course on the right side for the menu to adjust the cluster. As far as the cluster on this model, you get an analog cluster with the with the tachometer on the left side, and of course on the right side you get the speedometer, and of course you get a little screen in the middle in between to control for the menu itself, tire pressure, fuel efficiency, trips, speed, and so on. And of course the off-road option that you also get the same thing on the Kia Telluride. As far as driving modes in here, you get, as far as driving modes in here, as you can see, you have for 2 wheels, 4 wheels, and of course full all-wheel drive, and you got the off-road option as well. You get the power handbrakes on that side, and this is your traction control. You get a 9-speed automatic transmission with a manual mode, which you can control through here. The only option you get is basically the one located on top of the gear knob that you can use technically as an actual pedal shifters. As far as the infotainment system in here, you get similar to the Kia Telluride with the Apple and Android Auto. You can connect your phone, you have a Bluetooth, and you got the 4G LTE, and of course Wi-Fi connectivity as well. Now, unlike the Kia Telluride, this one has a secret door inside where you can put stuff and put a password and lock it. So if you press this button over here, as you see there, you press and hold, you have some space in there, and of course you have a USB charge. Now that's pretty cool because you can hide things inside, although thieves will know where things are hidden because they have already investigated the car, unless he has a stupid thief. But it's good to know that you can actually hide things in there and put a password and completely lock it and hold it, and there you go. Now that's pretty cool. I'll give it to Chevy. That's a cool feature that you don't find on the Kia Telluride. Not sure if that will convince you to pick this one as the winner, but that's just something you need to know. Anyways, you get the OnStar system for this vehicle. You got the audio control navigation system built in, and of course the text message for your phone to connect. And of course you get the camera as well, 360, which I mentioned previously. And of course you can change that with this mode as well. You can put the front camera or the rear side and then switch into that. So as you can see, camera is okay, the quality it's okay. The actual infotainment system, it is touch screen, nothing fancy, and at the bottom you have your climate control. Let's go back onto this here and to the main menu. You got your traffic in there, audio system settings that you can change in here. You have a teen mode and a valet mode as well. And just basic stuff, nothing fancy for the Chevy Traverse. An extra feature that you find on the Chevy Traverse that you don't have it on the Kia Telluride, it's basically the rear view mirror turns into an actual camera, into actual display with the camera located onto the rear side. At the rear side of the vehicle on the actual tailgate, you have two cameras, one that is used for this and one of course is used for the 360 system that is built in. Of course now you can turn it into a regular mirror as well, but once you flip the switch at the back, there you go. So now you have technically a camera with the screen in here. Unfortunately, unlike Cadillac, you can't change the actual screen mode in here. It is not touch screen. It just stays that way. It's set. On the Cadillac, usually you get to move it up and down, change the brightness. In here, it doesn't seem like it has any option underneath the actual mirror, but you do get that option that you don't have on the Kia Telluride. As far as the seats, for the front side, you get only heated seats. You don't get any cooling seats. The same thing with the Kia Telluride. The basic one that we have doesn't have any cooling seats, has only heated seats. Okay, now let's get into the Kia Telluride and let me show you around what we have. First off, let's start with the door panel. So what do you have in there? It's basically your window switches, and of course to lock and unlock. You don't have any memory seat, but you do have the child lock located in there, which you don't have on the Chevy Traverse. That's one thing that the Chevy Traverse is missing compared to the Kia Telluride. You don't have the child lock located on the door panel for the driver's side. So you do get, of course, the mirror switches as well. You can control your mirrors and you can actually fold them by pressing that button, and that's something that you're missing on the Chevy Traverse. Now let me show you around this vehicle. First off, the interior in here, as you can see, pretty different compared to the Chevy Traverse. It's the different material, looks more refined, has a very nice glossy back located onto the center console in there, which gives it a very refined look of the interior, a bit more fancy, I would say. First, let's start with the actual steering wheel. So very similar to the rest of the Kia Tellurides, you get your lane assist, the gap assist as well. The actual steering column, it's the same as the Chevy Traverse, is manual. You can adjust it manually. And let me just close it under here. And that's it. You don't get any pedal shifters with this mode. The actual cluster itself is analog, it's not digital with this option. With the actual second option, which is the SX, which I mentioned that is probably the more fair comparison to the Chevy Traverse, you do get a digital screen and that's included on the price of $49,000. With this, you just get an analog standard to the Kia Basic, and of course you get the little screen in the middle, which is your menu, and you can change that. That's your navigation, lane keeping assist, and of course all the settings for the driver. Now let's move on to the center console. What we have in here is basically your massive screen that you don't have on the actual Chevy Traverse. The screen over here is much larger than the Chevy Traverse, although not very different. That one is more squared. This is a different type of screen, looks a bit different, but it is touch screen similar to the Chevy Traverse. As you can see, this is similar to the Hyundai Palisade that I reviewed, same exact infotainment system. This one here does have a couple of cool features what I've mentioned previously on my reviews. You have your driver talk. What that does is basically controls your voice, and it transmits. What it does, it transmits your voice onto the rear speakers, so you don't have to actually raise your voice to talk to the people on the third row seat. The quiet mode is basically music played only on the front speakers, are not played on the rear side, to, you know, in case if you're going for a long trip and you have kids and they're sleeping but you still want to listen to some music, that's a great option. And of course you can control the rear climate control in here, something that you can't do on the Chevy Traverse. Connectivity wise, you get the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You can connect your phone, and you do get a wireless charging port as well located in here, and that's something that the Chevy Traverse is missing. Even with the Basic, you still get the wireless charging over there, and of course you got a USB port located onto the right side, and of course one in the center as well, and you got a 12 volts onto the left side. You do get heated seats. You don't get any cooling seats with this trim level. You do get with the rest of them as an extra option, and of course you got the climate control here with the digital screen on the bottom. You have the climate control in here with a digital screen, as you can see, and that's something that you don't have on the Chevy Traverse. Another extra feature, not sure whether it's very useful, but it is very different design to the Chevy Traverse. You got all the options in here for your map, navigation, radio, media, seek, track, and setup as well. You do get heated steering wheel on this vehicle. And moving on next onto the actual transmission itself and the center console in here. So this is basically an 8-speed automatic transmission with the manual mode into the left side, where you can push it, where you can use into manual mode, but you don't get any pedal shifters. And as you can see in here, you have the plus and minus, upshift and downshift. As far as the rest of the center console, you have the driving modes. You have 7 driving modes, and that's something that you're missing on the Chevy Traverse. And then on the left side, you have your automatic start and stop, and that's something you're missing on the Chevy Traverse. And of course the auto hold, which basically helps you when you are stopped in front of a traffic light. You don't have to hold the brakes, and this is your power hand brakes as well. You can activate and deactivate through here, and this is your parking sensors. Now, as far as the camera itself on this vehicle, is very basic. Let me put it into reverse and let me show you exactly. You don't have technically a 360 mode. What you do have is just parking sensors located onto the right of the screen. The actual camera in here is much clearer than the Chevy Traverse, but you don't get the 360 with this trim level. So that's pretty much it as far as the infotainment system and all the options that you get with the Kia Telluride. As far as the interior of the vehicle, it's pretty different from the Chevy Traverse. More refined interior, feels more luxurious than the Chevy, although it doesn't feel very much different, but you can, once you get in the vehicle, you can feel a bit of a difference, specifically with the center console and of course overall cabin. As far as space in here, the Chevy Traverse does feel more spacious in the front for the front passenger and of course for the rear side, as I tested out before. Other than that, the Kia interior does feel a bit more refined. Now let's move on onto the Chevy Traverse. We're going to take it on the We're gonna take the Chevy for a test drive, and I'm gonna show you how good it is, how different it is from the Kia Telluride. I already took the Kia Telluride for a test drive, so I'm not going to take it again, but I will give you a comparison between the two as far as ride quality, performance, and of course noise, cabin, and we're gonna do a 0 to 60 test on that to see how fast it goes. Okay, let's take this for a drive, and we're gonna do a quick comparison with the Telluride as well. We're not gonna take the Telluride for a drive because I already did, and that one, it's actually a demo and I'm not supposed to put a lot of kilometers on it. But these guys have already sold all their demos. Even the one they had previously, the one that I reviewed, they sold as well. Like, people are going nuts over the Telluride. So I want to see how good this thing is. Let me just increase that, fix the brightness, and here we go. Okay, so the average dB, it shows here that it's 73. As you can see in there, it's 73 dB. That's actually not very loud. Keep in mind that we're driving sort of like back roads. It's not necessarily highway. I'm assuming on a highway this will be around somewhere between 69 and 70 because the roads are well paved, and of course you have it on a constant speed. But right now I'm increasing and decreasing the speed, therefore the engine itself becomes a bit noisy as well because you're increasing the RPM. So 73, it's okay. To compare it to an electric car, I did the Audi e-tron yesterday and that was about 69. So even electric cars are not as quiet as you think because they don't have an engine. Most of the noise in the vehicle comes straight from the road, from driving, of course, and the road noise, and of course the vehicles passing by as well. Now, as far as the actual driving experience and of course the ride quality is the first that comes into mind. This one is much softer than the Kia Telluride. When you go over potholes or cracks in the roads, it does a very good job eliminating that hard bouncing into when you get over, the tires are running over the actual pothole. You don't feel it as much. Pretty good. I'm sure you're not planning to take this on a track, so I could not picture this car on a track. Imagine having this size of SUV into a track. I'm sure people take buses in Germany. I've seen some videos, but in case if you wanted to, I don't think that's a good idea, but it's totally up to you. It's your car. I think it does a fine job for day-to-day. You got quite a lot of power. It does feel a bit faster than the Kia Telluride. Of course, you got 20 horsepower more than the Telluride. And of course, this one, just loving the ride quality overall compared to the Telluride. And going over bumps over here, it doesn't feel as loud as on the Telluride. You can hear a bit the road. Although the Palisade was the noisy one. I felt the Palisade, you could hear the road a lot inside the vehicle. Anyways, that was it for today. Thanks for watching. As always, don't forget to subscribe and check out Conquest Canada, of course. If you are interested for this vehicle, I'll put the link in the description box of the dealership and you can reach out to them, maybe take it for a drive. And of course, if you want to test drive the actual Telluride, the link for Kia Mississauga will be in the description box as well. And that was it for today. Thanks for watching.